Hello everyone. In this video I'm gonna be explaining and covering how to use the dominant seventh chord and how to solve it, because there are very specific rules on how the dominant seventh chord should be used in classical music at least. So what we do is, the easiest way is we look at the scale, the major scale in this case. As you all know, that's a C, that's a D, that's an E, that's an F, that's a G, that's an A, that's a B, and that's a C. So we look at the scale, and what we do is write each scale degree and its solution. So the seventh degree of the scale would go to the eighth degree, or basically the one that is above. So that's the B. It will always go to C. Always, always, always. And you'll see what I mean by that in a chord context. But just know this is always the way. The second is the fourth degree. What's happened? Hold on. No. I'm still writing. The fourth degree would always go to the third. And the second degree would always go to 1. And of course, when you must have the fifth degree go to 1. Like, that's an obvious one. So what I mean by that, the hold on, I'm gonna put it somewhere that's visible. So what I mean by that is the B in the G major. Hold on, I'm gonna write down the G dominant chord. What I mean by that, if we play the G dominant chord, the G will always go down to C, because as you can see, the fifth degree will go to 1, or basically from G to C, and the second degree, which is in this case at D, would go down to C. So you can see here, from D to C. And the fourth degree, which is an F, would go down to E. And finally, the second, in this case, that's all we can do, because the second degree goes to first, which is taken. The second degree goes to first, which is also taken. Seventh degree goes to 8. Again, the 8 is basically 1, but an octave higher. So that's why the dominant seventh chord is almost usually not used in this way. But let's look at their solutions, and also the inversions have very unique solutions. So let's start with this basic shape. Right now we'll always have a dominant, basically dominant seventh chord. So that's a G7, and that's a C. That's a C chord. In this position, this is the only way it could be solved. So let's look at what happened. As I said, the fifth degree, which is the G, went to C. The second degree, which is an D, went down to C. The fourth degree, which is an F, went down to E, which is the third degree. And the B, which is the seventh degree, as you know, have to go to C. So those are the rules, and that's what happened here. So let's look at a different case. Let's take the D up here. And in this case, we'll have a missing solution, because the G would go down to C, the F would go down to D to C. Well, yeah. Well, hold on. I'll make it clear. The F would go down to E, and the D would go down to C, and the B would go up to C. So that's a missing solution. Basically, there are only 2 notes, not 3. 3 notes, I mean. Not 4. So let's look at a different position. Let's take this all the way down. No, I'll just cut you off and have you here. And we need to have the notes closer, so that's a dominant 7th chord, and though this is basically stacked. So in this case, what we do is go down a 7th, and again we'll have the C here, and the E stays here. So as you know, G goes down to C, the D goes down, the B goes down to up to C, the D goes down to C, and the F goes down to E. So don't be confused. Basically this is exactly above the C and exactly under the D. So that's the other solution. Let's look at another one. So what we'll do, let's take this up here, and let's take those 2 here. So the solution would be C, another missing chord. If you've noticed, all of those have been missing chords, so missing the dominant chord, the G chord so far. That's why using it in the root position is again, you can do that. It's so let's but again, you're missing the G, so you have to think if you want that. Again, in harmonic context, it works fine, unless you care about the G so much. So let's look at the last context in the root position. You could already see where this is going. So in this case, we have something a little different. Because we can't leap a lot, we have the C going to, the B going to C, the D going to this next, because we can jump a lot. The D goes down to C, the F goes down to E, and the G goes up to C. But this is there's a huge distance between the chords, so I don't like that a lot. Okay, so now next on line is an inverted chord. So we'll have the second inversion. G chord. This one change. This one go down here. This will go here. So now we actually have the G. Amazing. V6/5 and a C chord. again, you can see the D went down to C, the F went down to E, the G stayed because we have already a C and a D going to C, and we have two of those, so we don't need, like, the last part is optional at this point. So now we can actually have the G. So yippee on that. Let's try a different solution. Let's take the D in here. Now do this. I think this is sound wrong. This is the correct thing. Okay. Yep, that's how it does. But again, a huge distance between the notes, so don't do that ever. But this is only for showcasing, so you're allowed to do whatever. So that's another C position, and in that case we have a really simple solution actually. The G stays, this goes down to E, this goes down to C, the C is this C here, and again the C goes to, the B goes to C. So in Latin, the B is a C, so I say C sometimes. It's a little confusing, but that's a B. So that's another solution. Now let's look at the second inverted solution, which is from D to C. This is from D to C. And what we'll do, let's have the G will stay, the C is here, and the F is here. So the F will go down here, and this note will go up here. Again, we have the G. Hold on. G 4/3, and this is a C. The notes aren't too far apart, which is good. You can use that. Let's look at another position. Let's have this go up here, and you go up here. So the solution would be this goes down, this goes up, the G stays, and that's basically the solution. It sounds okay, but because these two notes didn't travel far, it sounds a little stretched, but it's cool. So now the last inversion would be an F. So an F inversion the third inversion, which is an F as the bass note, can only be solved to a first inverted chord. You'll see why. Hold on, no. So as you can see, that's a C second and first inversion, and that's a G third inversion. So as you know the rules, the 4 must go to 3, right? and the fourth degree of the major scale is an F. And if we want to do the third inversion of the scale of the chord, you have the F as the root, as the lowest note, and that F must go down to E. So that's why it's always an inversion. It sounds, wait, no, this goes, my bad, this should be it. Sounds a little stretched because again it's an inversion basically to an inversion. Again, it's fine, just a little stretched. Now the other case will have something like this. As you can see, D goes here and C goes up here, so we have basically a missing solution. It's not a missing solution. I mean, it's not a missing solution because we have the E and the G, so it's not missing. Just not a 4-note solution. It's only a 3-note solution. So keep that in mind. So this lecture was about how to solve the dominant 7th chord. It's really useful, and if you're planning to write with the dominant 7th chord, and especially in a melodic context, in a harmonic context, I mean, this video is very important. So remember these rules. I mean, if you remember this, you don't even have to watch the full video. Just remember those and you'll be fine. So thank you everyone so much for watching, and see you in the next video.